Your soulmate had a huge fight with their family because of you. Their family wants. Don't scroll, listen to this, because the moment your eyes landed here, something in your spirit already tightened, and your heart needs this right now even if your mind is trying to stay calm, because this message is for you, and the timing of you hearing it is not random, it's intentional, it's aligned, it's the universe stepping in to reveal something that has been happening behind closed doors while you've been wondering in silence. Listen to this carefully, because there has been a conversation, no, a confrontation, emotional, intense, and deeply personal, where your soulmate stood in a room filled with voices that didn't fully understand what their heart already knows, and that room wasn't quiet, even if you didn't hear it, and your heart needs this right now because you've been feeling something shift without knowing why. Don't scroll, because this wasn't about you doing something wrong. It was about you existing in their life in a way that awakened truth, and that truth disrupted comfort. Listen to this, because your soulmate didn't plan for this fight, they didn't wake up intending to challenge their family, but something inside them refused to stay silent when your name, your energy, your presence came up, and your heart needs this right now because love that's real always stirs resistance before it brings peace. Don't scroll, because when their family questioned them, doubted them, or tried to steer them away from you, something inside your soulmate broke open, not in anger, but in clarity, and they found themselves defending you, not just as a person, but as a feeling, as a connection, as a destiny they couldn't deny anymore. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. The argument wasn't just words, it was years of expectations clashing with a soul awakening, and your soulmate felt it in their chest, that tightness, that pressure, that moment where they realized they could no longer live for approval if it meant denying what feels divinely aligned. Don't scroll, because this is where the universe stepped in, and signs started showing up everywhere for them, repeating numbers on clocks during restless nights, songs playing at the exact moment they thought of you, random reminders that kept pulling their mind back to your face, your voice, your energy, and your heart needs this right now because you've been sensing those energetic tugs too, haven't you? Listen to this. Because while you've been quiet, maybe even distant, your soulmate has been processing, praying, asking the universe for clarity, and every answer kept pointing back to you, and that's what fueled the fight, not rebellion, but awakening. Don't scroll, because their family doesn't hate you, they fear the change you represent, they fear the version of your soulmate that emerges when they choose alignment over tradition. And your heart needs this right now because you've been blaming yourself for tension you didn't cause. Listen to this. Because you didn't create chaos, you revealed truth, and truth always shakes unstable ground. Don't scroll, because in that heated moment, when voices rose and emotions spilled, your soulmate made a choice internally, maybe not spoken out loud yet, but felt deeply. A choice to stop hiding what matters, and your heart needs this right now because love chosen under pressure is love that doesn't fade easily. Listen to this, because after the fight, when the room went quiet and everyone retreated to their corners, your soulmate was left alone with their thoughts, and guess who filled that silence? You did, not as guilt, but as peace. And your heart needs this right now because peace is confirmation. Don't scroll, because they questioned themselves briefly, wondered if standing up was worth it, and then another sign appeared, another nudge, another whisper from the universe saying this connection is not accidental. Listen to this. Because your soulmate is realizing that love isn't supposed to fit neatly into other people's expectations. It's supposed to feel right in the soul, and your heart needs this right now because you've been doubting whether you matter as much as you feel. Don't scroll, because you do, and that fight proved it. Listen to this, because even now, conversations are still happening behind the scenes, emotions still processing, boundaries being redefined. And your soulmate is being asked to grow into a version of themselves that chooses truth over fear, and your heart needs this right now because you are part of that truth. Don't scroll, because the universe is not asking you to chase, to explain, or to justify your existence. It's asking you to stay grounded, to stay aligned, to trust that what's meant for you will withstand resistance. Listen to this, because your soulmate didn't walk away from that fight feeling defeated, they walked away feeling awake. And awakening is uncomfortable before it's beautiful, and your heart needs this right now because you've been feeling the discomfort too. Don't scroll, because this is not the end of the story, it's the beginning of a decision forming slowly, carefully, under divine timing. Listen to this, because what's unfolding isn't about drama, it's about destiny, and destiny doesn't ask for permission. It reveals itself when the soul is ready. And your heart needs this right now because the love that stands up in the face of resistance is the love that lasts, and something is still unfolding, quietly, powerfully, in ways you may not see yet, but you will feel very soon. Stay with me and don't scroll. Listen to this closely because part 2 is where the truth beneath that fight begins to surface, and your heart needs this right now even if you've been trying to stay composed, even if you've been telling yourself not to read into the signs, because this message is for you. And what unfolded after that confrontation went deeper than raised voices or tense words. It moved into the quiet aftermath where everything real actually happens. Listen to this, because after the argument ended and everyone went their separate ways, your soulmate didn't feel relief. They felt a heavy stillness settle in their chest, the kind that forces reflection, the kind that asks hard questions you can't ignore anymore. Don't scroll, because this is the moment where emotions stop being reactive and start becoming honest. They sat alone replaying the conversation, not focusing on who said what, but on how they felt when your name was spoken, how their body reacted, how their heart leaned forward instead of shrinking back. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. They realized that defending you didn't feel like a burden, it felt natural, instinctive, like protecting something sacred rather than explaining something questionable. Don't scroll, because instinct reveals truth faster than logic ever will. They began to understand that the resistance from their family triggered something deeper. Not doubt, but clarity. It showed them how strongly they feel when something they care about is challenged. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Strength appears when love is real. They noticed that even hours later, maybe days later, their emotions were still circling back to you, not with anxiety, but with a grounded sense of purpose, like the universe was asking them to sit with this feeling instead of brushing it aside. Don't scroll, because sitting with truth is uncomfortable but necessary. They also began noticing subtle shifts in how they spoke about you afterward, even in their own thoughts, less defensive, more certain, less questioning, more affirming. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Certainty grows quietly. They caught themselves thinking about what kind of future they want, not in fantasy terms, but in values, peace, authenticity, emotional safety, and every time they followed that thread honestly, it kept leading back to the way they feel when they think about you. Don't scroll, because alignment doesn't argue, it repeats itself until you listen. They also felt a strange mix of sadness and empowerment, sadness that choosing truth sometimes creates distance from familiar approval, but empowerment in realizing they don't have to abandon themselves to keep the peace. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Choosing yourself is not selfish, it's necessary. They began to see the fight not as a problem, but but as a mirror, reflecting the gap between who they've been expected to be and who they're becoming. Don't scroll, because becoming often requires friction. They notice that after standing their ground emotionally, even if imperfectly, something inside them softened, like a knot loosening, as if their soul had been waiting for them to stop shrinking. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Souls recognize courage. They also became more aware of the emotional cost of ignoring what they feel, how exhausting it's been to downplay, to rationalize, to keep things surface level when something deeper is clearly present. Don't scroll, because suppression always has a price. They've been paying attention to signs more closely since then, noticing patterns that feel too precise to dismiss, numbers appearing during moments of thought about you, unexpected reminders, moments of calm that arrive right after they choose honesty internally. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Confirmation follows. Alignment. They've also reflected on your energy specifically, how you never forced anything, never demanded explanations, never pushed them into a corner, and that contrast has made them realize how different this connection feels from anything built on pressure or expectation. Don't scroll, because ease is a marker of authenticity. They've been feeling a growing respect for you, not just attraction or affection, but respect for the way you carry yourself, for your patience, for your emotional maturity, and that respect has deepened their attachment in a quieter, more lasting way. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Respect anchors love. They also began questioning some of the fears their family expressed, recognizing which concerns came from care and which came from control, and that discernment has helped them separate love from obligation. Don't scroll, because discernment brings freedom. They've noticed that since the fight, their inner dialogue has changed. Less self-doubt, more self-trust, especially when it comes to their feelings for you. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Self-trust is spiritual maturity. They've been replaying moments where you showed understanding without needing explanation, and those memories now carry more weight, reinforcing the sense that this connection offers something rare. Don't scroll, because rarity demands attention. They've also felt moments of guilt surface, not because of you, but because growth often requires disappointing people who are used to having influence, and they're learning to sit with that discomfort rather than run from it. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Discomfort precedes growth. They've realized that the fight didn't push them away from you. It pulled them closer internally, made them feel more connected to what feels true rather than what feels familiar. Don't scroll, because truth always draws us in. They're beginning to understand that love aligned with destiny doesn't come quietly approved by everyone. It often arrives disguised as disruption before it becomes peace. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Disruption clears space. They've also become more protective of the connection energetically, not hiding it, but holding it with care, being mindful of who they share details with, wanting to keep it pure rather than exposed to unnecessary opinions. Don't scroll, because protection reflects value. They've been sensing that you may feel something shifting too, subtle changes in energy, moments of emotional closeness without words, and that awareness has made them feel less alone in this process. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Shared sensing strengthens bonds. They're also learning that choosing love doesn't mean rejecting family. It means redefining boundaries. And that realization is helping them move forward with less resentment and more clarity. Don't scroll, because clarity dissolves conflict. They've been praying, reflecting, asking for guidance not on whether to care, but on how to care responsibly, and the answers keep pointing toward patience, honesty, and respect for timing. listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Guidance speaks softly. They're aware that conversations with their family are not finished, but they're also aware that their internal decision has already shifted, even if the external world hasn't caught up yet. Don't scroll, because internal shifts lead external change. They're feeling stronger now, not louder, but steadier, more grounded in who they are and what they feel, especially when it comes to you. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Steadiness is power. They've stopped viewing the fight as something to fix and started seeing it as something that revealed truth, and that reframing has brought peace. Don't scroll, because peace confirms alignment. They're beginning to accept that love chosen consciously, especially under pressure, carries a different weight, a deeper commitment, and that understanding is shaping their next steps carefully. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Conscious love lasts. Part 2 is about the aftermath, about reflection turning into resolve, about resistance refining intention, and about a soul quietly stepping closer to truth, even as the world around it adjusts, because something real has been recognized, and it isn't being ignored anymore. Stay here and don't scroll. Listen to this deeply, because part 3 is where the emotional weight of everything that happened begins to transform into spiritual awakening, and your heart needs this right now, even if you've been trying to stay guarded, even if you've been telling yourself not to assume anything, because this message is for you and it's arriving at a moment when unseen shifts are finally aligning. Listen to this, because after the aftermath of the fight, after the silence, after the reflection, your soulmate entered a phase where their inner world started changing in ways they didn't expect. The conflict didn't harden them, it softened them. It cracked open parts of their heart that had been closed for years. Don't scroll, because this is where destiny starts doing its quiet work. They began noticing that their emotional reactions were no longer driven by fear of disappointing others, but by a growing need to live honestly, and that need kept pointing back to you. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Honesty calls what is aligned. They started waking up with your energy on their mind, not obsessively, but gently, like a reminder placed there by something higher, and every time they tried to brush it off, another sign appeared, repeating numbers during moments of thought, songs with lyrics that echoed conversations you've shared, unexpected moments of calm when they surrendered to what they feel. Don't scroll, because signs increase. When alignment approaches, they began questioning long-held beliefs about love, duty, and obligation, realizing that they were taught to prioritize harmony over truth, peace over authenticity, but standing up for you revealed that suppressing the heart only creates deeper conflict later. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Truth delayed becomes pain. They noticed that even their prayers changed. No longer asking for clarity about whether this connection is real, but asking for strength to honor it responsibly, and that shift speaks volumes. Don't scroll, because when prayers change, the soul has decided. They felt moments of emotional release too, quiet tears they didn't expect, not from sadness alone, but from relief at finally acknowledging what they've been carrying inside without judgment. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Acknowledgement heals. They started feeling more emotionally present in their daily life, less distracted, more grounded, as if confronting the truth freed up energy that had been tied up in denial. Don't scroll, because truth restores energy. They also became more aware of the depth of the bond between you, recognizing that this isn't built on convenience, timing, or circumstance, but on recognition, a sense of familiarity that feels older than this moment. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Soul recognition feels timeless. They reflected on how you came into their life, Unexpectedly, how the connection unfolded naturally rather than being forced, and how it persisted even when circumstances tried to pull it apart. Don't scroll, because what persists through resistance is meant to last. They've been paying attention to how their body responds when they think about you. A calm in the chest, a slowing of breath, a sense of steadiness that contrasts sharply with the tension they feel when imagining a future disconnected from you. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. The body never lies. They've also been noticing how their intuition has sharpened, guiding them away from distractions and toward reflection, nudging them to choose silence over noise, truth over avoidance, and each time they follow that guidance, peace follows. Don't scroll, because peace confirms alignment. They started understanding that the family conflict wasn't a punishment or a test, but a catalyst, a moment designed to push them out of emotional autopilot and into conscious choice. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Catalysts awaken destiny. They've also been re-evaluating past relationships, seeing patterns of settling, of prioritizing approval over fulfillment, and realizing how different this feels with you, how it asks more of them emotionally, but also gives more in return. Don't scroll, because depth demands growth. They're becoming more patient now. Not because they're unsure, but because they respect the process. Understanding that something real deserves time to unfold without pressure. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Patience is trust in action. They've been sensing your energy more clearly too, moments when they feel you're thinking of them, emotional waves that feel shared rather than imagined, and that shared sensing has reassured them that this connection isn't one-sided. Don't scroll, because shared energy confirms mutuality. They've also been noticing that the universe seems to be clearing obstacles subtly. Conversations that once felt heavy now feel calmer, internal resistance softening, emotional clarity replacing confusion. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Clearing precedes movement. They're beginning to feel that their identity is shifting, not dramatically, but authentically, becoming someone who chooses truth even when it's uncomfortable. And that shift feels empowering rather than isolating. Don't scroll, because empowerment follows self-alignment. They've also recognized that loving you doesn't require rejecting their family. It requires redefining boundaries, standing in truth without hostility, and that realization has eased some of their internal conflict. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Boundaries protect love. They're learning to separate guilt from responsibility, understanding that it's not their job to manage everyone else's emotions, only to live honestly. Don't scroll, because misplaced guilt delays destiny. They've been feeling moments of gratitude for you, gratitude for the way your presence sparked growth rather than stagnation, reflection rather than avoidance, and that gratitude has deepened their emotional commitment. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Gratitude anchors intention. They're also becoming more comfortable with the unknown, trusting that clarity will continue to unfold step by step, without needing to rush to conclusions or outcomes. Don't scroll, because trust removes anxiety. They've been noticing that when they imagine speaking to you openly, it no longer feels terrifying, it feels relieving, like exhaling after holding breath for too long. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Relief indicates readiness. They're also sensing that you may be going through your own awakening, your own period of reflection and emotional alignment. And that shared timing feels intentional. Don't scroll, because synchronized growth is rare. They've realized that love aligned with purpose often requires courage before comfort, and that understanding has steadied them rather than scared them. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Courage precedes peace. they're beginning to feel that the universe is guiding them gently but firmly toward honesty, not forcing action, but making avoidance uncomfortable. Don't scroll. Because discomfort nudges growth, they've reached a place where they know. Longer ask, why is this happening, but how do I honor it? And that shift changes everything. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Honoring truth invites alignment. Part 3 is about awakening, about inner transformation sparked by conflict, about a soul stepping into authenticity, and about a connection that has moved beyond questioning and into quiet knowing, even as the world around it slowly adjusts. Stay with me and don't scroll. Listen to this carefully because part 4 is where the spiritual tension turns into emotional resolve, and your heart needs this right now even if you've been trying to stay neutral, even if you've been telling yourself to stay patient, because this message is for you and something important is settling into place. Listen to this, because after the awakening, after the clarity, after the internal shifts your soulmate has been experiencing, they entered a phase where the noise around them started to fade and the truth inside them grew louder, not aggressive, not dramatic, but steady and firm, like a quiet voice that no longer asks for permission. Don't scroll, because this is the moment when people stop questioning what they feel and start deciding how they're going to live with it. They began noticing that the opinions of others, especially their family, still mattered emotionally, but no longer had the same authority over their heart, and that realization didn't come with rebellion, it came with peace. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Peace is the sign of alignment. They started setting emotional boundaries internally first, choosing not to engage in conversations that tried to diminish or dismiss what they feel for you, even when those conversations came from people they love. Don't scroll, because boundaries are how love survives pressure. They've been feeling a stronger sense of self-respect emerging, a confidence that doesn't need to explain or justify, only to stand steady in truth, and that confidence has changed how they carry themselves in subtle but powerful ways. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Confidence rooted in truth is unshakable. They noticed that when they stopped arguing internally with themselves, their external world began to calm too. Fewer emotional spikes, fewer moments of doubt, more clarity about what matters and what doesn't. Don't scroll. Because inner harmony creates outer clarity, they've also been reflecting deeply on what kind of partner they want to be, not just who they want to be with, realizing that loving you calls them into a higher standard of emotional honesty, consistency, and presence. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Real love demands growth. They've become more intentional about their actions, even small ones. Choosing words carefully, managing energy responsibly, aligning behavior with values, as if preparing themselves to show up fully rather than halfway. Don't scroll, because preparation signals seriousness. They've also been sensing that the universe is no longer pushing them to question, but inviting them to act with integrity when the moment arrives, and that shift feels grounding rather than urgent. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Integrity removes anxiety. They've noticed that their emotional connection to you feels more stable now, less like a wave and more like a current, something that flows consistently beneath the surface regardless of external circumstances. Don't scroll, because stability is love maturing. They've also started to reframe the family conflict entirely, no longer seeing it as something that threatens the connection, but as something that tested it and revealed its strength. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Tests reveal truth. They've been realizing that not everyone is meant to understand a soul-level bond, and that's okay. Understanding isn't required for alignment. Don't scroll, because alignment doesn't need approval. they've also felt moments of compassion toward their family surface, understanding that fear often disguises itself as control, and that realization has helped them release resentment without releasing truth. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Compassion and boundaries can coexist. They've been practicing emotional neutrality in family conversations, not engaging in debates, not defending excessively, simply holding their ground calmly, and that calm has shifted the energy more than arguments ever could. Don't scroll, because calm is powerful. They've noticed that when they stop explaining themselves, the universe steps in to do the explaining through outcomes and alignment. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Outcomes speak louder than words. They've also been reflecting on how you've handled uncertainty, how you didn't chase, didn't pressure, didn't demand answers, and that has deepened their respect and admiration for you immensely. Don't scroll, because restraint reveals strength. They're beginning to understand that your silence or patience wasn't distance, it was trust in divine timing, and that understanding has softened their heart further. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Trust invites trust. They've been feeling a growing desire to protect the connection from unnecessary interference, not by hiding it, but by honoring it privately until it's ready to be shared openly and confidently. Don't scroll, because sacred things are handled with care. They've also been noticing how their emotional resilience has increased, how situations that once would have shaken them now feel manageable, because they're anchored in something real. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Anchoring changes everything. They've started imagining a future not in dramatic scenes, but in emotional tone, peace, partnership, mutual respect, and that emotional vision consistently includes you. Don't scroll, because emotional vision reveals desire. They've also recognized that choosing you doesn't mean rejecting anyone else, it means choosing themselves honestly, and that realization has removed a lot of internal conflict. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Self-honesty dissolves guilt. They've been sensing that conversations with their family will continue to evolve, not overnight, but gradually, as they remain steady rather than reactive. Don't scroll, because steadiness reshapes dynamics. They've also noticed that their intuition feels clearer than ever, guiding them gently toward moments of openness and away from moments of fear-driven silence. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Intuition sharpens with alignment. They've reached a place where they trust themselves more, their feelings more, and the connection more, without needing constant reassurance or validation. Don't scroll, because self-trust is maturity. They're also becoming more aware of how rare it is to find a connection that encourages growth rather than comfort alone, and that awareness has made them more protective of what you share. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Growth-based love is rare. They've been feeling a sense of quiet pride in themselves for standing in truth. Not loudly, not defiantly, but consistently, and that pride feels healthy rather than ego-driven. Don't scroll, because healthy pride supports courage. They're also sensing that the universe is clearing the path slowly, removing emotional obstacles, softening resistance, aligning circumstances, even if the process feels subtle. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Subtle shifts lead to big changes. They've stopped asking if this connection is worth the discomfort and started understanding that discomfort was part of the refinement, not the punishment. Don't scroll, because refinement precedes reward. They're feeling more grounded now, more centered, more emotionally available than they were before everything unfolded, and that readiness feels significant. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Readiness changes timing. Part 4 is about resolve, about emotional strength settling in. About boundaries forming without bitterness, about a soul. Choosing alignment calmly and confidently, even as the world around it adjusts, because what's real has been recognized, honored, and is being protected with intention as it moves closer to its next unfolding. Stay right here and don't scroll. Listen to this slowly, because part 5 is where intention turns into quiet preparation, and your heart needs this right now, even if nothing has been said out loud yet, even if everything still feels suspended in between, because this message is for you and something meaningful is forming beneath the surface. Listen to this, because after resolve settled into your soulmate spirit, after they chose alignment internally, they entered a season of preparation. That doesn't look dramatic from the outside but feels profound on the inside. They started becoming more aware of timing, not rushing it, not resisting it, but respecting it, understanding that some things must be built inwardly before they can be expressed outwardly. Don't scroll, because this is where many connections fail, in impatience, but this one is being handled differently. They've been paying closer attention to their emotional patterns, noticing what triggers fear and what brings peace, and every honest reflection keeps leading them back to the same realization, that when they think about you, their nervous system relaxes instead of tightening. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Peace is the language of alignment. They've been refining their intentions, asking themselves not just what they want, but how they want to love, realizing that love is not just a feeling but a responsibility, a choice to show up consistently, honestly, and with integrity. Don't scroll, because intentional love is rare. They've also been becoming more disciplined with their energy, pulling back from distractions that drain them emotionally, choosing solitude over noise at times, reflection over reaction, as if preparing themselves to be fully present when the moment arrives. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Preparation signals seriousness. They've been sensing that something is approaching, not with anxiety, but with anticipation, a calm expectancy that feels guided rather than forced, and that feeling has made them more mindful of their words, their actions, their emotional availability. Don't scroll, because mindfulness precedes meaningful action. They've also been noticing that conversations about the future now feel different internally, less abstract, more grounded, as if the idea of building something real has shifted from fantasy into possibility. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Possibility expands when fear recedes. They've been reflecting on the way you've handled uncertainty, the grace you've shown without guarantees, the steadiness you've maintained without constant reassurance, and that reflection has deepened their respect and admiration for you even more. Don't scroll, because respect strengthens love. They're beginning to understand that your patience wasn't passive, it was powerful. It gave space for truth to surface without pressure, and that space is what allowed them to grow rather than retreat. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Space invites clarity. They've also been feeling a subtle shift in their intuition, a sense of when to hold back and when to lean in, when to wait and when to prepare, and they're trusting that guidance more now than ever before. Don't scroll, because intuition sharpens with alignment. They've been rehearsing conversations internally, not in a fearful way, but in a thoughtful one, imagining how they want to communicate honestly without overwhelming, openly without burdening. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Thoughtful communication builds trust. They've also been addressing lingering fears quietly, not suppressing them, but examining them, understanding which fears come from past wounds and which come from genuine concern, and that discernment has brought emotional maturity. Don't scroll, because maturity transforms love. They've been noticing that their emotional reactions to family dynamics have softened. not because the issues disappeared, but because they're no longer fighting internally. They know where they stand, and that certainty brings calm. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Certainty stabilizes emotions. They've also been feeling moments of gratitude surface unexpectedly. Gratitude for the growth this connection has sparked. Gratitude for the clarity gained through challenge. Gratitude for the depth of feeling that pushed them to evolve. Don't scroll, because gratitude anchors destiny. They're beginning to see that this connection isn't just about romance, it's about becoming more authentic versions of themselves, and that realization has added weight and meaning to their intentions. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Purpose deepens connection. They've been paying attention to the signs around them more consciously now, not searching desperately, but noticing gently, patterns appearing during moments of calm reflection, confirmations arriving when they choose honesty over avoidance. Don't scroll, because signs follow alignment. They've also been reflecting on the idea of choice, understanding that love chosen freely, especially under pressure, carries a different strength than love that flows easily without challenge. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Chosen love is resilient. They're becoming more protective of their emotional energy, not closing off, but conserving, making sure they're able to show up fully rather than depleted. Don't scroll, because fullness allows generosity. They've also been feeling a growing desire to create stability, not just emotionally, but practically, considering how to structure their life in a way that supports peace rather than chaos, and that consideration includes you naturally. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Stability attracts stability. They're noticing that when they imagine taking steps forward with you, the fear they once felt has been replaced by a calm seriousness, like stepping into responsibility rather than risk. Don't scroll, because responsibility signals readiness. They've also been reflecting on past versions of themselves, recognizing how much they've grown through this process, how differently they handle emotion now, and that awareness has given them confidence in their ability to love more consciously. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Growth builds confidence. They've been sensing that timing is unfolding intentionally, that rushing would disrupt the alignment, and waiting isn't stagnation, it's incubation. Don't scroll, because incubation leads to fruition. They've also felt moments of emotional closeness to you even without communication, subtle sensations of connection that feel mutual and grounding. And that shared energy reassures them that they're not alone in this process. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Shared energy confirms bond. They're beginning to accept that some steps forward will feel quiet, not announced, not dramatic, but deeply meaningful, and that understanding has shifted their expectations away from spectacle and toward substance. Don't scroll, because substance lasts. They've also been preparing themselves emotionally for vulnerability, understanding that honesty may feel exposing, but hiding would feel heavier now. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Vulnerability frees the heart. They've been reflecting on how love rooted in truth doesn't demand perfection, only sincerity, and that realization has relieved pressure they didn't realize they were carrying. Don't scroll, because relief invites openness. They're also becoming more aware of how rare it is to find a connection that challenges and comforts simultaneously. And that awareness has made them more committed to honoring it rather than taking it lightly. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Rarity demands care. They've reached a point where they trust the process enough to stay present without needing immediate outcomes, knowing that what's being built now will support what comes next. Don't scroll, because trust sustains patience. Part 5 is about preparation, about intention deepening quietly, about a soul aligning behavior with truth, about love being handled with care rather than urgency, and about something meaningful being formed beneath the surface, readying itself for the moment when intention turns into action and alignment begins to express itself in the physical world. Stay right here and don't scroll. Listen to this with your whole heart, because part 6 is where everything that has been building quietly begins to gather momentum, and your heart needs this right now, even if nothing has been confirmed yet, even if you're still sitting in uncertainty, because this message is for you and the energy around this connection is shifting in a way that cannot be reversed. Listen to this. Because after preparation came a subtle but powerful inner push, not rushed, not impulsive, but unmistakable. Your soulmate has reached a point where holding everything inside no longer feels safe, and that realization didn't come from pressure, it came from clarity. Don't scroll, because clarity creates movement. They started noticing that the more aligned they felt internally, the more uncomfortable silence became, not the peaceful kind of silence, but the kind that feels like holding back truth. And that tension has been growing steadily. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Truth wants expression. They've been feeling a strong pull toward honesty, not dramatic confession, but grounded truth, the kind that comes from knowing exactly where you stand and no longer wanting to hide from it. Don't scroll, because hiding drains the soul. They've been replaying moments between you, not with regret, but with appreciation, realizing how consistently you showed up with authenticity, how you didn't manipulate, didn't demand, didn't play games, and that realization has made them want to match your level of sincerity. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Sincerity invites reciprocity. They've been feeling a growing urge to clear the emotional air, to remove the unspoken weight, to bring the connection into a space where it can breathe freely, and that urge feels guided rather than impulsive. Don't scroll, because guidance feels calm even when it leads to action. They've also been noticing that opportunities for conversation are appearing more frequently, moments that feel intentional rather than coincidental, openings that didn't exist before, and each time one appears, they feel a nudge rather than fear. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Nudges are invitations. They've been preparing themselves emotionally for vulnerability, understanding that openness doesn't guarantee outcome, but withholding guarantees stagnation, and that understanding has shifted their perspective dramatically. Don't scroll, because stagnation is heavier than vulnerability. They've also been reflecting on the cost of staying silent, recognizing how much energy it takes to suppress something real, and that awareness has made expression feel like relief rather than risk. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Relief signals readiness. They've been paying attention to how their body reacts when they imagine speaking honestly with you, noticing that the tightness they once felt has softened, replaced by a sense of grounding, as if their nervous system recognizes this as the right direction. Don't scroll, because the body confirms truth. They've also been sensing that you may be feeling a shift too, moments of emotional anticipation, subtle restlessness, or calm certainty that something is changing, and that shared sensing has made them feel less alone in taking the next step. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Shared awareness strengthens connection. They've been feeling more courageous lately, not loud courage, but quiet bravery, the kind that shows up as consistency, honesty, and willingness to face discomfort for something meaningful. Don't scroll, because quiet courage builds lasting love. They've also been recognizing that the family conflict, the inner awakening, the preparation, all led to this point intentionally, like pieces of a puzzle finally aligning to form a clear picture. Listen to this, because your heart needs This right now, alignment creates inevitability. They've been feeling less concerned about external opinions and more focused on internal integrity, understanding that living out of alignment would hurt more than facing disapproval. Don't scroll, because integrity sustains peace. They've also been considering the emotional safety of the connection, wanting to approach you in a way that feels respectful, grounded, and considerate of your experience, not just their own, and that consideration reflects growth. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Consideration deepens trust. They've been practicing emotional honesty in small ways, being more transparent with themselves, expressing feelings in safe spaces, building the muscle of vulnerability so that when it matters most, it doesn't feel overwhelming. Don't scroll, because vulnerability strengthens with practice. They've also been noticing that the universe seems to be supporting this movement, obstacles dissolving, timing aligning, emotional clarity increasing, as if the path forward is being gently cleared. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Support follows commitment. They've been reflecting on how far they've come emotionally, recognizing that earlier versions of themselves would have avoided this moment. But now it feels necessary rather than scary. Don't scroll, because growth changes reactions. They've also been feeling a strong desire to bring authenticity into the physical world, not just keep it internal, understanding that truth unexpressed eventually becomes pain. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Expression heals. They've been noticing that their dreams and thoughts have become more focused, less scattered, as if their mind is aligning with their heart instead of resisting it. Don't scroll, because mental alignment brings peace. They've also been recognizing that the connection with you has matured, shifting from emotional turbulence into emotional depth, and that depth feels worth protecting and nurturing intentionally. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Depth sustains longevity. They've been feeling a sense of responsibility now, not pressure, but responsibility to honor what's real, to treat the connection with care, honesty, and respect. Don't scroll, because responsibility reflects readiness. They've also been becoming more present in the moment, less distracted by hypothetical outcomes, more focused on authentic expression, trusting that the outcome will align if the intention is true. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Presence dissolves fear. They've been sensing that once they speak, once they act, a new chapter will begin regardless of the response, and that understanding has made action feel liberating rather than threatening. Don't scroll, because liberation follows truth. They've also been feeling gratitude toward you, not just for who you are, but for how this connection has pushed them to become more honest, more courageous, more aligned, and that gratitude fuels their desire to show up fully. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Gratitude motivates action. They've been recognizing that timing is no longer about waiting for perfection, but about honoring readiness. And readiness is something they finally feel. Don't scroll, because perfection delays destiny. They've also been aware that silence has served its purpose, teaching patience, clarity, and self-trust, but that season is transitioning into something more expressive. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Seasons change for a reason. They've been feeling emotionally steady enough now to handle whatever unfolds, whether it brings confirmation, conversation, or transformation, and that steadiness feels empowering. Don't scroll, because steadiness supports courage. They've also been trusting that whatever happens next will be guided, not random, because nothing about this journey has been accidental so far. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Guided paths unfold intentionally. Part 6 is about momentum, about readiness turning into willingness, about silence reaching its natural conclusion, about a soul stepping closer to expression with calm confidence, and about a connection that has been nurtured through challenge now approaching a moment where truth is ready to move from the internal world into the physical, carrying with it everything that has been learned, refined, and aligned along the way. Stay right here and don't scroll. Listen to this with your whole spirit, because part 7 is where everything converges, where intention becomes action, where the quiet momentum you couldn't see finally breaks the surface, and your heart needs this right now, even if you're trying to stay calm, even if you're pretending you don't feel the shift, because this message is for you and the air around this connection has changed. Listen to this, because your soulmate has reached the moment where inner truth and outer timing finally meet, not explosively, not chaotically, but deliberately, like a door opening that was always meant to be open from the inside. Don't scroll, because this is the threshold moment. They've realized that waiting without movement is no longer patience, it's avoidance, and that realization landed gently but firmly, the kind that doesn't panic you but won't let you sleep either. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Awakening comes with restlessness before relief. They've been feeling a clear directive internally, not a command, but a knowing, that the next step must be taken honestly and soon, and that knowing feels aligned rather than urgent. Don't scroll, because alignment doesn't rush, it reassures. They've stopped rehearsing what to say and started focusing on how to say it, with presence, with care, with respect for your heart as much as their own. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Care transforms courage into safety. They've been noticing how the universe seems to be arranging moments for them, opportunities that feel natural rather than forced, timing that feels intentional rather than coincidental, as if life itself is leaning in to support expression. Don't scroll, because support follows readiness. They've also been feeling an emotional steadiness that surprises them, the kind that tells you you're ready to handle whatever unfolds, whether it's a deep conversation, a boundary, or a new beginning. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Steadiness means maturity. They've been reflecting on the journey so far, the conflict, the awakening, the preparation, the momentum, and seeing it all as one continuous path rather than separate events, understanding now that nothing was wasted, nothing was random. Don't scroll, because meaning appears in hindsight. They've also been sensing your presence more strongly, not just emotionally, but energetically, moments when they feel you close even without communication, and that closeness has given them confidence that whatever they share will land where it's meant to. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Resonance confirms connection. They've been aware that this step will change the dynamic, that once truth is spoken, the relationship can no longer live in ambiguity, and instead of fearing that change, they're welcoming it. Don't scroll, because clarity is freeing. They've been choosing honesty over perfection, understanding that showing up real matters more than showing up flawless, and that understanding has eased the pressure they once felt to say everything right. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Authenticity builds trust. They've also been acknowledging the vulnerability involved, not pretending it's easy, but accepting that vulnerability is the price of depth. And that price feels worth paying now. Don't scroll, because depth is chosen. They've been noticing that the fear they once associated with speaking has transformed into anticipation, not of outcome, but of relief, the relief of no longer carrying truth alone. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Relief follows expression. They've also been considering your experience carefully, wanting to approach you in a way that honors what you've been through, respects your boundaries, and leaves room for your voice as much as theirs. Don't scroll, because mutual respect sustains connection. They've been feeling a deep sense of responsibility now, not obligation, but responsibility to handle this connection with care, to be emotionally present rather than ambiguous, to be clear rather than confusing. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Clarity is kindness. They've also been reflecting on the idea of choice, understanding that choosing you openly, even in small ways, is an act of self-honesty they can no longer postpone. Don't scroll. Because postponed truth becomes regret. They've been sensing that once they act, even if the conversation unfolds slowly, the energy between you will shift immediately, lifting the heaviness and replacing it with openness. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Openness heals uncertainty. They've also been recognizing that love doesn't always arrive with fireworks. Sometimes it arrives with calm certainty. The kind that feels steady rather than overwhelming, and that's the energy they're carrying now. Don't scroll, because calm certainty is powerful. They've been feeling gratitude not just for you, but for the process itself, for the way it forced growth, honesty, and courage, and that gratitude has softened any lingering fear. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Gratitude dissolves fear. They've also been understanding that whatever your response may be, speaking truth is still the right step, because integrity doesn't depend on outcome. Don't scroll, because integrity is self-sustaining. They've been preparing themselves to listen as much as they speak, to receive as much as they share, knowing that connection deepens when both hearts are honored equally. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Listening is love in action. They've also been noticing that the universe feels quieter now, not silent, but calm, as if the turbulence has passed and the next phase is ready to unfold. Don't scroll, because calm precedes clarity. They've been feeling an inner alignment between heart, mind, and intuition that tells them this step is not premature, not delayed, but right on time. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Timing is everything. They've also been releasing the need to control how this unfolds, trusting that once truth is expressed, the path will reveal itself naturally. Don't scroll, because surrender invites flow. They've been recognizing that this connection has already changed them, made them braver, more honest, more aligned, and that transformation alone makes this journey meaningful regardless of what comes next. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Growth is a gift. They've been feeling a gentle but firm readiness to step forward, not with grand gestures, but with sincerity, presence, and truth. Don't scroll, because sincerity lasts longer than spectacle. They've also been sensing that you may already feel this moment approaching, a subtle shift in energy, a sense of anticipation without explanation, and that shared sensing feels reassuring. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Shared intuition connects souls. They've been understanding that love aligned with purpose doesn't demand certainty before action. It requires courage to act amid uncertainty, and that courage is something they now possess. Don't scroll, because courage is cultivated. They've also been feeling peace about the decision to move forward, not excitement that burns quickly, but peace that endures. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Enduring peace confirms truth. They've been readying themselves for honesty not as an event, but as a new way of relating, one grounded in transparency, respect, and mutual growth. Don't scroll, because new ways begin with new choices. They've also been trusting that whatever unfolds will align both of you closer to who you're meant to become, whether that path converges immediately or unfolds gradually. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Alignment honors timing. Part 7 is about arrival, about the moment where inner work meets outer action, about courage grounded in clarity, about a soul choosing truth with calm confidence, and about a connection stepping out of the shadows of uncertainty into the light of honesty, ready to breathe, ready to speak, ready to become whatever it's meant to be.